Subscribe because it's free.
The Xeric Dominion had seen 1,000 wars, crushed 1,000 civilizations, and left 1,000 dead worlds in its wake. Earth was no different to them, just another defiant planet standing in the way of their expansion. They brought their full force, a fleet so vast it blotted out the stars, descending upon the blue planet with the cold precision of executioners. Humanity resisted. They always resisted. Fleets of steel and fire rose to meet the Xeric Armada, outnumbered and outgunned, but unwilling to surrender. Every orbital station, every warship, every last missile was unleashed in a desperate attempt to halt the invasion. The Xeric laughed at their efforts. Plasma lances tore through human ships like paper. Planetary defenses crumbled under relentless bombardment, and cities burned as fire rained from the sky. The battle lasted longer than it should have. Humanity refused to die quietly. They fought for every inch of space, forcing the Xeric to work for their victory. The Dominion had expected an easy extermination, yet human ingenuity and sheer defiance made them bleed. Suicide runs, last-ditch counterattacks, even ramming enemy warships, tactics no species in the galaxy dared to use. The Xeric crushed them regardless, but not without cost. As the last human strongholds fell, the Xeric High Command broadcast their victory across the stars. The great species of Earth was no more. Their proud fleets were now debris orbiting their ruined homeworld. Their soldiers lay dead on every continent. The Xeric stood triumphant, their conquest complete. But before the final embers of resistance died, one last transmission was sent. Not from a bunker, not from a starship, but from deep within the Earth itself. A message short, simple, and utterly unshaken. You'll regret this war. It was spoken in perfect Xeric dialect, with an eerie calm that sent a ripple of unease to the Dominion fleet. The Xeric laughed at first, a desperate bluff, a final act of defiance from a broken people. They dismissed it as meaningless. The great Xeric fleet departed, leaving only patrol ships to oversee the dead world. The battle was over. Humanity was gone. The Xeric had won, or so they thought. Silence. That was all the Xeric heard in the months following their conquest of Earth. No distress signals. No hidden colonies reaching out for help. No resistance fleets launching desperate counterattacks. It was as if humanity had been completely erased. The Xeric warlords moved on, expanding their empire, dividing the spoils of war. The world they had burned to the ground held no further value to them. At first, there were only whispers. A patrol ship vanished near the remains of Luna Base. A transport convoy lost contact somewhere between Mars and the asteroid belt. A planetary governor station on a former human colony stopped responding, her last transmission garbled, filled with strange distortions. The Xeric dismissed it as pirates, rogue elements left behind from the war. But then the disappearances became too frequent to ignore. Entire Xeric scouting parties would embark on routine missions and never return. Outposts on the edges of human space began reporting strange activity. Sensors picking up phantom signals, alarms triggered by nothing, weapon systems disabling themselves without explanation. Anomalies, coincidences. At least, that's what they told themselves. Then came the first real warning. A Xeric battleship, the Vortash, was assigned to investigate a derelict human mining station. The crew expected to find scavengers or malfunctioning equipment. Instead, they found the remains of a Xeric cruiser, the Scarveth, one of their own, floating lifelessly in the void. Its hull was intact. No battle damage. No distress beacons activated. But the crew? Gone. Vanished. Not a single body remained. The Xeric officers retrieved the ship's logs, hoping for answers. What they found instead was a single audio file. A voice, calm human, speaking in perfect Xeric. You'll regret this war. Panic spread to the command structure. The Dominion had annihilated Earth. They had purged every human colony, vaporized their cities, broken their fleets. But something was still out there, something they had missed. The High Council convened, debating whether the disappearances were the work of a surviving faction or mere paranoia. The Dominion had faced resistance movements before. None had lasted long. None had ever mattered. But this felt different. The enemy was invisible, silent. It struck at will, leaving no survivors, no wreckage, no trace of its origins. The Xeric doubled their patrols, mobilized entire fleets to hunt the ghosts in the dark. But the more they searched, the worse it got. Ambushes, sabotage, supply lines cut off by forces they couldn't see. And always, before a station or fleet fell, a single warning message broadcast across every screen, every terminal, every communication channel. You'll regret this war. The Xeric began to fear the silence. It was no longer the absence of sound. It was the presence of something unseen, watching, waiting. And when the Dominion finally uncovered the truth, it was already too late. Humanity was not dead. They had never been dead. They had been waiting. The Dominion had never known fear, not true fear. For centuries, they had been the ones to instill in others, to crush lesser species beneath their might. But now, for the first time in their history, they were the hunted. The attacks escalated. Xeric supply routes were systematically dismantled, entire fleets disappearing without a trace. Colonized worlds fell silent overnight. Their garrisons wiped out, their orbital defenses turned against them. It wasn't war, it was extermination, precise and methodical. The Dominion scrambled for answers, but none came. The High Council deployed their best strategists, their most advanced surveillance networks, their deadliest warships. None of it mattered. The enemy left no signatures, no heat trails, no evidence of movement. Every attack was perfectly executed, as if humanity had learned to fight outside the laws of physics. Then the psychological warfare began. Xeric warships returned from missions with their AI cores rewritten, their systems overridden by foreign code. The messages weren't encrypted, weren't hidden. They were simple, direct, impossible to ignore. You'll regret this war. Xeric soldiers stationed on captured human worlds began hearing voices in their comms, whispers in the darkness, speaking their own language, telling them to run. Some defected, abandoning their posts. Others turned their weapons on themselves. Entire regiments collapsed without a single shot fired. The Dominion still refused to believe they were losing. They assumed it was a rogue element, a fragmented rebellion doomed to fail. But then came the first real proof of what they were facing. A Xeric dreadnought, the Vortanus, was ambushed on the outskirts of the Sirius system. The ship was a fortress, a floating city of destruction. It was equipped with enough firepower to reduce an entire planet to dust. Yet, within minutes, it was helpless. The first attack came in the form of an EMP pulse. Xeric systems flickered, shields failed, targeting arrays went offline. Before they could react, hundreds of drone ships swarmed them, unlike anything in the Xeric arsenal. Sleek, black, moving with terrifying precision, they tore through the dreadnought's escort ships like predators carving through prey. And then, a single ship appeared on their sensors, a warship unlike anything the Xeric had ever encountered. It wasn't a remnant of humanity's old fleet. It was something new, something built in the darkness of space, away from prying eyes. A fusion of human ingenuity and stolen alien technology. Its hull shimmered with adaptive camouflage. Its weapons burned with an energy signature they couldn't trace. It had a name painted in bold letters across its side. Nemesis. Before the Xeric commander could react, the ship opened fire. It moved like a ghost, phasing in and out of their targeting systems, striking before they could even register its presence. Within moments, the dreadnought's defenses were gone. The last transmission from the Vortanus was filled with screams. Xeric soldiers, the elite of their empire, begging for evacuation, for mercy. The transmission was abruptly cut off. And then, across the entire Xeric network, a single message was broadcast. No encryption, no attempt at stealth, just a statement, spoken in the same calm, terrifying voice. You'll regret this war. Panic set in. The Xeric High Council could no longer deny reality. The war they thought they had won was still being fought. And now, they were on the losing side. The Xeric Dominion was unraveling. The High Council, once composed of cold, calculating warlords, now sat in chaos, their once unshakable confidence crumbling under the weight of fear. The extermination of humanity had been a mistake, not because they had failed to wipe them out, but because they had forced them into something far worse than mere survival. Humanity had changed. The remnants of their species no longer fought like a desperate civilization clinging to life. They fought like an apex predator toying with its prey. They had adapted Xeric technology, dissected it, improved it, turned it against them. Every engagement was an ambush. Every battle was a slaughter. The Dominion had spent centuries perfecting war, but they had never fought like this. Their enemy was invisible, unpredictable. Entire fleets defected or self-destructed rather than face the inevitable. The Dominion's colonies were abandoned, their borders shrinking by the day. And still, the message followed them. You'll regret this war. The Xeric's last hope lay in sheer overwhelming force. The High Council gathered their remaining fleets, consolidating their strength into one final push. If they could not hunt humanity down, they would wipe out everything. Scorch every system where humans could hide, leave nothing but empty, lifeless husks. It was a plan born of desperation, and they committed everything to it. 1,000 warships, dreadnoughts the size of cities, carriers brimming with the most advanced weaponry in the galaxy. If humanity still lived, they would face the full wrath of the Dominion. The fleet arrived at a system the Xeric believed to be humanity's final stronghold. Sensors detected movement, an armada waiting for them. But as they moved in, something felt wrong. There were no planets in the system, no habitable worlds, no resources, just a vast, empty void. And then the trap was sprung. From the darkness, ships emerged, not human ships, not entirely. They were something new, hybrid war machines of unknown design, silent and deadly. They did not announce themselves. They did not send warnings. They simply attacked. The Xeric fleet, battle-hardened and prepared for war, lasted less than an hour. Their capital ships were disabled in seconds, their command structures severed. The Nemesis appeared again, cutting through their formations with surgical precision. But this time, it wasn't alone. There were dozens of them, dozens of ships like the Nemesis, moving in perfect synchronization, dismantling the greatest fleet the Xeric had ever assembled. There was no negotiation, no surrender, only annihilation. The High Council's flagship, the last surviving warship of the fleet, attempted to retreat, but before it could jump, the ship's systems were overridden. Every screen, every console, every communication channel displayed the same message. A voice calm, unshaken. The same voice that had haunted them from the beginning. We told you would regret this war. The flagship's core overloaded. A brilliant explosion tore through the void, the final death knell of an empire that had once believed itself unstoppable. The war was over, not with a treaty, not with terms of surrender, but with the complete and utter destruction of those who had dared to challenge humanity. The Xeric Dominion ceased to exist. Their former worlds were abandoned, their remaining forces scattered. No one dared speak of the war, for fear that the ghosts of Earth might still be listening. And they were. Humanity did not claim victory. They did not need to. The galaxy had already learned its lesson. Never again,